Daytona Beach Shores meeting of July 25th, 2023. Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Mayor Miller?
Here.
Vice Mayor Flores?
Here.
Commissioner Ryan?
Here.
Commissioner Condos?
Here.
Commissioner Lindell?
He's in the men's room.
Yeah, I think he's on a slide. He's coming in right now.
The department's here full.
Okay, and this evening we have Reverend Melissa from our Drive-In Christian Church leading us in prayer. Please, everyone, stand. Good evening. Let's pray.
Holy One, known by many names and beyond all names, we ask your blessings on the people who have been called to lead the community in which we live and work and play. Help them to act with character and conviction. Guide them to be the leaders that your people need. Help us all to see the humanity and dignity of those who disagree with us, and to treat all persons with the reverence your creation deserves. Grant them and us the wisdom and courage to know and to do what is right and good and true. May they and we speak out when it is time to speak out, and listen patiently and receptively when it is time to listen. May they and we always be guided by the spirit of community, by the spirit of justice, and by the spirit of love. This we pray in the name of all we hold sacred and holy, all that we hold good and right and true. May it be so.
Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good evening. As you can see from all the guests we have this evening, we have a wonderful, a couple of service awards for you this evening. So let's get started. Chief, do you want to come up first for Officer Ryan Moen?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. It's my pleasure to bring Ryan Moen in front of you. I say Moen, I think it's Moen. His dad was my captain for 25 years, so I say it the way his dad did.
Ryan, how do you?
Moen, isn't it?
You are.
That's very typical of him. Ryan has done a lot in 5 years. He's been with us for 5 years. Obviously, he comes as a legacy. But he's a throwback officer. There are not many like him anymore. Ryan is one of those guys that if he shows up an hour early for work, he's 15 minutes late in his mind. He's here all the time. He comes in, he works overtime. He loves to come to work, and he always comes to work with a smile on his face. He's a firefighter, he's a police officer, he's an emergency medical technician. He's a field training officer. He's got such a great attitude that I hope that it's infectious and contagious with his trainees. He does a great job with them, and he's a member of our SWAT team. So everybody loves to be around Ryan. He's positive, and that spreads. This positivity spreads. So I'm pleased to hand this to you, Ryan. Congratulations.
Tammy, she usually takes one with the council in the back. Can you try one of those, please? Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry. Back again. Back again. Thank you, Tammy. Okay, next. And Stuart, would you like to come up? Next, we have maintenance worker for Ryan Lamberson. Ryan, if you could come forward, please.
Yeah, good. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Ryan Lamberson started with the city about 10 years ago. He actually has worked himself up. He started as a part-timer working here at the courts before this building was even built, as a part-time employee. And since then, he's worked himself out. Now he's a maintenance worker 4, which is basically a senior crew leader in the Streets and Parks Department. Ryan basically knows every aspect of the department, and actually since June 1st of this year, he's actually been filling in as the interim Streets and Parks Supervisor. And he's been doing such a great job. Actually, we've heard good compliments from everyone that has been involved in our streets and parks, including the county as well. So we're really proud of him. Ryan seems a little bit shy, but when you get to know him, he really opens up, and you'll find out how dedicated he is to the city, to his coworkers, and to his job. So without further ado, congratulations, Ryan. We appreciate everything you do.
Ryan, thank you. Thank you. All right, I guess we're going in order here, how long you've been here. So next is a 15-year employee, Lieutenant Norman Metters. I'm going to call you up, Chief, and we're already there.
It says Norman, but he goes by RJ. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to Lieutenant RJ Metters. I think most of you probably know him. RJ has been on the fast track. There aren't too many folks that make lieutenant as fast as he has. He's probably the youngest lieutenant that I've ever worked with in the 30-plus years that I've been here. Throughout his career, he's been police officer, firefighter, EMT. He was a field training officer. He was a detective. He ran our detective bureau. When he was a sergeant, he did that. He also was a patrol supervisor. Then when he was promoted, he became our support services lieutenant. He's run IAs. He has run our records and evidence. He did a fantastic job with our evidence. We've gotten a lot of kudos while he was in charge of that. And he's also become a fire inspector. And are you totally done? You all remember Terry. He's actually trained higher than Terry Griffiths was when he was here. He's now also a fire arson investigator, correct? Almost there. He goes to a lot of training. So RJ, you know, you don't hear him talk much, but certainly has a way of making his voice heard. So he makes a big impact on our agency.
Great. Congratulations, Lieutenant. Okay, I know most of our public safety officers leave as this is over, but if you could stay a couple of minutes, Chief, if you could come back. If we could stay, if you're, anyone can stay, but our public safety, if you can stay, 2 meetings ago, I rushed it a little bit about the accreditation. That didn't happen, and I hope I didn't put the jinx on us, but we went the next day and we got the accreditation. Can you tell us a little bit about how important that is and what it takes to get that? And we are so proud of your department.
Certainly. And again, I want to thank you and the city manager for joining me at the conference. Our accreditation comes through the Florida accreditation of law enforcement. There are over 100 agencies in the state of Florida that are accredited, but not all of them are. And what that accreditation means is that we have policies and procedures that are at or exceed what the industry standard is for the state of Florida. In addition to that, they come in, check our policies, and then we have to show proofs of compliance for every one of those policies, that we do what we say we do. And Joanne Sweeney, who is our administrative assistant, is a heck of a lot more than that. She's our accreditation manager also. There was St. Johns County was there, and they joked they had 11 people on their accreditation team. We have 1, and we got a perfect rating. There was absolutely no issues with our accreditation.
Wonderful.
I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of these men and women behind us that are the ones that carry out these policies. The comments that were made by the assessors that came here was, number 1, they were happy to be here because everybody seemed happy. And number 2, when they go to other places, the officers see them in the halls and turn around and go the other way because they don't want to be asked any questions. They don't want to be put on the spot. They don't necessarily know their policies. These folks sought them out, and that's how good my people are.
Sorry. Thank you. Congratulations. It was an honor. And I know that this is not for him. That's for everyone in our city. Thank you for everything that you do every day to get us that accreditation. We appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, next we have a presentation from First Step Shelter, Victoria Fallberg. You can come up, please. And Roseanne. And Roseanne.
I'm just a sidekick.
Okay, all right.
So I just wanted to update you. I think the last time I was here was before the pandemic, around that time.
Mic a little closer.
Sorry. And I just thought I would share a little bit about what's been going on.
Great.
And thank you, of course, for your support. So in August, we should be hitting our 1,000th person to come through the shelter. And so, as you probably are aware, we're the shelter that has the single homeless people, the adult men and women. And many of them, like about 90%, have alcohol addictions, drug addictions, or mental illness, or combination thereof. And they're also elderly, which they're a lot older population than I had assumed. Their average age is about 50. And when they come to us, they have, many of them are disabled, if not, well, it's the majority are disabled. And so we work with them to get employment if they are able to work, and if they're not able to work, we help them get disability insurance, because the only way we can move them into housing is if they have a way to sustain themselves. And so over the years since we opened, it's a little over about 3.5 years now, we've been able to put more than 50% of the people who come through housing, the shelter, into housing, and we have been able to maintain 90% of those people in housing so far. So for the population we serve, we feel like, you know, that's some pretty good data. About 1 out of every people who come to our shelter is a veteran. Some of the illnesses they come to us with are a lot of chronic things like seizure disorder, disability, heart, kidney, liver failure. We have people there with cancer. We've had 12 people who came through the shelter that have actually, we were kind of like their last stop before hospice. And so in terms of Daytona Beach Shores, we get about 12 people a year through your law enforcement going into our safe zone. And we get about 20 people a year into the shelter program who come to us through the hospital, primarily through Halifax Hospital or through the jail, or through some of the other service providers that are in, you know, that send people to us. SMA is another one I should have mentioned. So that's kind of the data. Roseanne's going to give you out a flyer that just shows you some more data from last year. I should mention that we also work to get people Medicare and Medicaid so that they're not costing the hospitals more. You know, they can actually bill their insurance now. And we also help them with food stamps to help them survive once they get into housing, because their income is generally very low, whether it's through a entry-level job or through disability. So the final thing I want to tell you about is that we've started a new program with the Volusia Sheriff's Department. And Roseanne has another brochure, or did you already give those?
I gave them.
Okay, so you have a copy of those, and it's a program where if anybody, a business owner, or any of your residents here in Daytona Beach Shores sees a homeless person on the street that they're concerned with, they can call our helpline, and one of my employees, an outreach worker, will partner with a sheriff's deputy, and they will come up here and talk with the person about coming to our shelter, and they'll explain to them everything, like what it's like there, what we can do for them, as well as, you know, how they need to behave when they're at the shelter. So those are the main things I wanted to say. Just say thank you again, how much we appreciate your partnership with our shelter, and you know, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, and if not, I just want to say thanks again.
I just want to say a couple.
Sure, come on, Roseanne.
Well, Dr. Victoria Fallberg is absolutely wonderful.
Can you go on the mic here, right?
Dr. Victoria Fallberg is absolutely wonderful. She's very good. I want you to understand that we make a difference in the lives of about 3,000 people a year. I went to the Hilton for our next event, which was November 9th, and the young lady who answered the phone said, "Hi, Roseanne, you don't know me, but I was in the shelter and you guys gave me a job." just want you to know that the first person we got in the shelter was a doctor who we helped get back to her business and everything else. And somebody said to me, but we have a lot of homeless people. Well, you know what? We sell sunshine, guys. We're always going to have people coming to Florida, going to California because it's warm. Just want you to know that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Roseanne. Do we have any questions? If not, thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate
It's
it.
our pleasure. Thank you so much.
And I do have to let you know what a wonderful that event that was last year at the Hilton.
Thank you.
Oh,
Oh, I just want to say our next gala is going to be February 3rd. And last year, it was a pretty good event. We had about 425 people, and we were able to net $240,000 from the event. And we've already been selling tickets and tables, so people were very excited about it. It was fun. This year is going to be different. Last year was Mardi Gras, and this year is going to be old Hollywood glamour. So,
wow.
you know, it's going to be fun, and we would love to see you. Thanks.
And the other thing is, you can always, if you see a homeless person, you can call 386-999-HELP. That's a phone number from 9 to 5, and they will pick up these people and take them to the Roseanne Tornator Safe Zone, which was built after the shelter opened because the shelter wasn't Pottinger compliant. Something needed to happen. So we will put them in the shelter, in the safe zone for 3 days, right, Victoria, right now?
We take, they can stay in the safe zone
Safe
up to
zone.
3 days.
3 days.
But we ask them the minute they get there if they want to come into the shelter program. And so if they desire immediately to come into the shelter program, then we will do an intake on them and bring them in. A lot of times they want to hang out and see what it's kind of like. And if that's what they want to do, then we let them do that as well.
But the whole goal is they won't be arrested. They'll have a place to sleep, to eat, to feel like they want to be into the world again. About 80% of them do want to be into the world again. 20% want to go back to the street.
Okay. All right, thank you, ladies, very much. We appreciate it. Okay, next we're going to move on to our minutes from the City Commission meeting on July 11th, 2023. Do I hear a motion to accept those minutes?
So move.
A second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on those minutes from July 11th? If not, we'll move on to take a vote, please. Sherry?
Commissioner Lindauer,
Yes.
Commissioner Conlon,
Yes.
Commissioner Bryan,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Flores,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you. Okay, next on our consent agenda, we have 3 items. Do I hear a motion to accept those as is without pulling any of those?
I so move. Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on any of those 3 items? If not, Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Vice Mayor Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindauer,
Yes.
Commissioner Conlon,
Yes.
Commissioner Bryan,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you. All right, now our first old business. We now have a second reading ordinance on 2023-06, a gas franchise agreement. Turner Bose, can you read that for us, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor. This is ordinance number 2023-06 on second reading and adoption. An ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Florida, granting to Peoples Gas System, Inc., its successors and assigns, a non-exclusive natural gas franchise agreement to use the public rights-of-way of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Florida, and prescribing the terms and conditions under which said franchise may be exercised, making findings, providing for conflict severability, providing an effective date, and repealing prior ordinance 2002-32.
Thank you. Okay, last meeting, our Community Service Director, Stuart Cruz, explained this to us. If there's no other questions, do I hear a motion to accept ordinance 2023-06?
Motion to approve 2023-06.
Second.
And we have a second. Okay, any discussion on that? Okay, hearing none. Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Commissioner Bryan,
Yes.
Commissioner Conlon,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindauer,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Flores,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you. Okay, next we're going to move on to new business. I'm sorry, before we did that, was there anyone that wanted to speak on 2023-06? I'm sorry, I didn't ask. Okay, well, great, since we took the vote, but anyway, thank you. Next, we'll move on to Resolution 2023-08, fiscal year 2023-2024 proposed millage rate, and that was a workshop that we just have right before this meeting. Can you read that to us, please, Attorney Weiss?
I certainly will, thank you. This is resolution number 2023-08, a resolution of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, setting the proposed millage rates for the city for fiscal year 2023 through 2024, providing an effective date.
Thank you. Okay, so at the workshop we just had, and if we have any questions, we can ask our finance director about it. We will have 2 follow-up meetings on it, one of them on August 24th, or that will be the meeting that they'll be posted and you'll get notice of it, and then on September 12th. So plan on going to those meetings. But I just want to say, we looked over the proposed rate from different cities in the area, especially the coastal cities. They have to raise theirs a substantial amount over. We could have raised ours, and we could have, I think people would know the reason why. We had probably the most devastation, and so our home values went down here in Daytona Beach Shores. But because of our staff, because of our commission, we understand, especially the people that are in the condos, how hard they're getting hit with the insurance, with the assessment, everything that's going along. So our proposal right now is that we will stay at rollback, that there would be no increase. In fact, it's a very slight decrease for single-family homes as well as condos. So I just wanted, again, to congratulate your staff and everyone that was involved with it. And I said before, but remember this next year. Unfortunately, with everything that's going on, it will be near impossible to do that. But let's appreciate it this year. Again, thank our staff for the insight to know they have been hit enough. So we will be voting on that as well. I just wanted to talk about that. Okay. I'm sorry? I was going to ask first if does anybody in the audience have anything to say on this?
I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Okay, do I hear a motion to accept 2023-24 proposed millage rate?
Also, we approve.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
in the workshop, we discussed moving the date to Tuesday, September 12th. The published agenda item still said Monday, September
amendment?
11th. I think the motion needs to indicate that we're accepting, before the meeting, you were handed a corrected resolution, but for the public record, I believe we need to take.
I appreciate that. So, yeah, so can we go back, Commissioner Bryan, and the amended with the September 12th date, please?
As amended, the date changed from September 11 to September 12.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Economos, can you still second?
Yes, I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion on that? Okay, if no discussion, Sherry, can you take a roll on that, please?
Commissioner Bryan?
Yes.
Commissioner Economos?
Yes.
Commissioner Lindauer?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Plius?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for everything that you do and that we're able to do this again this year. We appreciate everything. Next, we're going to go on to Resolution 2023-09, adopting administrative code. Attorney Weiss, can you read that for us, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, this is resolution number 2023-09, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, adopting an administrative code, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. And is there someone that's going to speak on this, City Manager?
I can, or the attorney can. This is a requirement of our charter to have this, and it was brought to our attention that we couldn't find any record of ever having done this. So,
May I have a question before we go on?
yes.
Okay, so on this administrative code, and it's for neither of you because neither of you were here at this time, so it's a question out loud I'm saying. We have the same attorney firm for 20 years, almost 20 years. Of those 20 years, we had a city attorney. Why was this not done? Can you help me to understand that? And now it's being brought forward.
I have no idea.
City Manager?
I have no idea why it wasn't.
Okay, so for 20 years, we paid a firm. For 11 of those years, we had the same city attorney, and it was never noticed. When I worked for AT&T, we talk about subject matter experts. Becky, I hold you accountable as our subject matter expert, and you give us recommendations, you tell us what we need to do to put in the codes. I expected the same from our last law firm and our last attorney, and I'm sorry it didn't happen, but now we'll have it done, so thank you very much. So, do I hear a motion?
Also move.
Do we hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay. I think we have a motion and a second. What other discussion do we have on this administrative code?
What correction did we make?
We implemented one.
Okay, and enlighten me.
City charter calls for us to have an administrative code.
Do you want to
It was-
expand? Oh,
No, I'm sorry, I was looking at
Okay.
our attorney.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, all right. The charter for a long time has said that we should have an administrative code. And apparently, there was never one implemented. And honestly, I thought we had one because I know that I had always thought that the city had been very well represented in the past. So I was quite shocked that there wasn't one.
Is
And
the
it was- I'm
administrative
sorry,
code
it-
basically a codification of all the ordinances that we've passed over the years?
No, actually, it's not. There's a provision, and I'll read it to you real quick. This is what's in the charter. It says the city manager shall propose and the city commission shall adopt, amend and adopt by a vote of 4/5 of the full commission an administrative code which shall set forth the departmental organization for the city government, including charts showing the chain of command and the allocation of responsibilities and duties, definitions of the nature and scope of each department, and all required rules and procedures for operating said departments.
And to the best of your knowledge, do you have a date on that?
The most recent change was changing it from council to commission. We just went through the entire charter. But I don't know when it was originally adopted, but it certainly wasn't when I was here.
Okay, and so it was brought to our attention that we don't have this administrative code by the firm that represented us for 20 years and one of the attorneys in that firm. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. So just so you have a background.
Yes, thank you for the explanation.
I'm sorry. Was everyone able to hear me? I talked pretty loud that time. Thank you. So anyway, that's where we're at right now, so we will get this buttoned up. We took a vote, we had a discussion. Sherry, did you take?
Not called for a vote yet.
Okay, all right. Can you take it now, please?
Commissioner Economos?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Flores?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryan?
Yes.
Commissioner Lindauer?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. Okay, so, I'm sorry, so next we are going on to, and this is a thing that our beloved previous Volusia County representative from our District 2, Billy Wheeler, had brought up. This was quite a while ago, and again, you know, we would have liked to act on this a little quicker, but we had a couple little things called COVID, a couple hurricanes. But now we're at the point right now that we would like to do some checking into this. So, City Manager, would you be talking about where we're on this, or explain a little bit, or is this our Community
This will
Service?
be Community Services Director Cruz.
Community Service Director, we're glad that we are able to get to this.
It's finicky. Sorry.
Thank you, Chris, for being here this evening.
Hopefully I can get there too.
3/4 on me and gets it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Sir Cruz, Community Service Director. So just a quick background as to how we got here. Everyone knows that the city of Daytona Beach Shores takes pride in streetscapes, and in the past, there were two major activities that were done by the city in order to.
Speak maybe a little bit more into that, Stuart, thank you.
Thanks, Stuart.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So as I mentioned, the city of Daytona Beach Shores takes seriously streetscapes. We did 2 major efforts in the past to beautify our streetscape. The first, as everyone remembers, is the underground utility project, which was completed in 2012. And that same year, the city enacted a monument sign ordinance to basically lower the taller pole signs down to monument-style signs, and then established a grant program as well, which was also basically reaffirmed and continued or extended by this city commission last year as well, to basically facilitate that program to lower pole signs to monument-style signs. And so these are just some exhibits that you might see. If you remember Daytona Beach Shores prior to 2012, you'll see tall pole signs, but you'll also see electric poles. You'll see FNL poles. You'll see power lines all over the place. Basically, this on the left-hand side is what the shores used to look like. And then in 2022, or maybe a few years later, what you look at the same location is you see that the tall signs have actually been reduced in height. They're now monument-style signs. Okay, now my mic's just working, I apologize. And you see the FPNL, the older FPNL lights, they're gone, and now the city has established a street light system in which we have decorative lights, which are about maybe 25 feet high, and then we also have 40-footer street lights as well. And you don't see any lines across the street anymore. So it's a drastic difference, but if you were to take a look at the same vicinity, more or less, if you were to take a zoom back out, you'll see on the left-hand side, on the ground, you'll see this huge FPNL transformer box, which basically, over time, has not looked as spanking as it used to look back in the day. So you see the paint has corroded. You'll see that it's been tagged. You'll see graffiti. You'll see all sorts of things. And this is consistent throughout the city, unfortunately. So there is one missing piece that we have in terms of improving the streetscape and keeping the streetscape the way we want it here in Daytona Beach Shores. In terms of our inventory when it comes to utility boxes, similar to the FPNL transformers, we have 2 AT&T cabinets. We have 5 traffic signal cabinets, which are basically owned by the Florida Department of Transportation. And we also have, as I mentioned, several FPNL transformer boxes. We have about maybe 70 throughout the city in the State Road A1A and CR 4075 corridor, which is basically South Atlantic Avenue and Dunlawton Boulevard. So there are 2 existing programs out there that allow, from the utility providers, that allow us to essentially create a public art work program in which we can wrap the utility boxes that are out there. The first is the FPNL, it's called a pad-mounted equipment wrapping program, and the second is the FDOT Community Aesthetic Future, or CAF program. So these are some applications that we have locally right here in Daytona Beach Shores, in Daytona Beach area. This is corner of Orange Avenue and Beach Street on Mainland. On the left-hand side, you'll see an FPNL cabinet, and then on the right-hand side, you'll actually see 2 transformers that have been wrapped also by the city of Daytona Beach. So these are actually local applications that we have. You guys can go visit it, and also the park that is north of this on Beachside as well, Esplanade Riverfront, I believe it's called. They have some other options that you can view as well in person. So when it comes to the actual FDOT applications as well, you can see that the FDOT actually allows for several types of creative applications, whereas the FPNL unfortunately only has 5 menu options. So in these cases here at Sanford and Clearwater, they actually put forward a call for artists and actually created a theme that they wanted. Whereas in the previous exhibits that you see here, these were actually from the menu that FPNL has. So what city staff is looking for tonight is any direction from the city commission as to whether or not this is something that you want staff to go ahead and investigate and bring forward in the future. So I'll take any questions, and I'll be happy to try to answer those as best as I can.
Stuart, I would love to pursue this, but one of the things I'd like to maybe see done now, can local artists submit their work to be placed on these boxes?
For the FDOT transfers, traffic signal cabinets, yes.
What I'd like to see is if we can do something with school-age kids, say K through 12, have some kind of an art contest periodically, not necessarily once a year, maybe a couple times a year, and display some of their work on this. Could be, even though we don't have really a lot of schools on the shores, obviously, we have the elementary school, but or near us, but we can do it across the river. Just do beach-themed or ocean-themed type work and then, go from there, do it as a reward program or some kind of an art contest.
So that's for FDOT?
Yes, for the FDOT traffic signal cabinets, correct. So they're the ones that basically have, they don't have any standard when it comes to the actual artwork that goes on these facilities.
They have to approve it though, right?
They have to approve it, so obviously they have some guidelines. There can't be any words, any text. It has to, meet, the civil decorum, things of that nature.
Now, is it possible to do that? I mean, I would be happy with even what has been presented already, but I just think it would be kind of a neat thing to do if you had kids display their artwork. And
Yes, actually, I've spoken to maybe 4 or 5 jurisdictions, and I believe 2 out of 5 of those actually did something very similar. So it can be done.
Stuart, at the end of the day, what is the cost first if we had it professionally done like that? And then second, if we went to a school to do that?
So-
Is the cost 100% on us?
Yes, that's my understanding.
That's my understanding as well. I mean, we do have, in the budget, we didn't really hit it during the budget workshop, but we took a stab in the dark to get a number in the budget, put $20,000 towards this. But we would have to do, under FPL, there's the 5 or 6 designs. We'd probably do an RFP to get a contractor, and then find a per location and per box size price. And then first step would obviously be to enter into an agreement with FPL and FDOT. There's 2 separate agreements. We would bring those back for formal approval by the commission. And then we would have to create the artwork submission program for the FDOT boxes. I wish we could do it for the FPL boxes as well, but they have their standard. I think this could be an awesome thing for the city, and we would bring back a formal process for that. And Becky, you look like you want to add something to that.
Yes, the city of Brooksville did a program like this. And I don't have the details, but I do know that they had a volunteer who was a professional artist, I think a retired professional artist, and she worked with school children who volunteered, and they did proposals and they got them approved, and it was just fantastic.
Yes, I'm very, very excited about this. I know we've talked about it, like I said, a couple of years ago, and then other things, tiny things came along. But so now, right now, we're asking for the direction for our staff to go forward and pursue this a little bit more, whether it's the 5 designs that were turned in, whether it's the school-age children. Then I know you said there was 2 AT&T utility things. Do they have?
So we have not been able to get a response from them as yet, but my understanding is that most people focus on the FDOT and the FP&L programs.
Can you tell me the ones that I feel that are very unsightly are in front of Oceans 25? Do you happen to know off the top of your head what those are?
Those, okay, so on the side street or right along?
Pretty much on A1A.
Okay, so the green ones are FP&L transformer boxes,
Okay.
or cabinets.
Okay, great. So, and how would we do this? Would we stagger them by the most visibility, or?
Yes,
we have, okay.
we can come up with a full criteria. Tonight, we're just asking for direction to move forward. And if that's the pleasure of the commission, we'll come back with a very sound plan and the approval documents that are needed, which is, I believe, 2 resolutions we'll need.
And before we take a vote on this, does anybody have any other questions?
Yeah, I have a comment. I don't think it should be restricted to school-age children. I think there should be a certain number allocated to school children and a number of other artists in the community who want to donate their artwork. I don't think that we want to get into bidding for artwork, but anybody that wants to donate the artwork in the contest, then we take a look at it, and if they'll give us exclusive rights to it and we think it's worthwhile, we move forward with this. So we'll have some true artists and some school children. I think the combination of the 2 would make a lot of sense. And I think the benefit to both the school children and the artists who donate their work is they can go around and point to it and said, I did that, and brag about it. But they're not going to get paid for it. So
And can you check when you are doing that with other cities, even if, volunteer program, I mean, still their supplies and everything like that. Can you see, can we make a donation to their art program? Can we buy the supplies? So when you're checking on all of that, I'd like to know all that information.
We can start looking into it.
Stuart, does this only apply to the 5, if not boxes?
Correct. When it comes to the 70-plus transformers that are out there, that are owned and operated by FPNL, we're basically limited to the 5 options that are in the menu with FPNL. The creativity part, going to the school-age kids or artists out there would be limited to the 5 FDOT traffic signal cabinets that are basically, those silver-looking things that you see on the ground next to the big old mast arms.
Wonderful, thank you so much. So if there's no other questions?
Actually, I do have another.
Briefly describe it.
Please ask to be recognized. Go ahead, Commissioner Bryan.
Could we, you just briefly describe the 5 options?
They were in the packet. I don't have them in the exhibit. Actually, yes, I do.
They're in our agenda, correct?
So these on the right-hand side, these are 2 of the 5 options that the DOT provides. The other one, I believe, is like a marine type situation, and then I believe some flowers and then some bigger leaves. I'm not very good with that.
No, they're in the agenda, though.
Did that answer your question, Commissioner Bryan? Okay, Commissioner Economist?
Yes, ma'am. Stuart, if this takes place, for instance, one of those boxes, if it's covered, how long does that have to, is there a minimum time where they would want that to stay on there? Can we switch it out every 6 months? How much is that going to cost? Is it going to be too cumbersome to do that?
From my understanding with the cost that tentatively we don't want to switch them. Can we tell kind of what we heard?
So the costs, I've spoken to at least 4 different vendors, and originally about maybe 3 years ago, they were going for about maybe $800 a pop, but with the inflation and speaking to, like I said, a few vendors recently, you're talking about $2,500 for an average size one, not even the larger ones. The really smaller ones, like the one down here on the right to the lower level, today you're talking about $850 for something that size.
So these are something we want to keep covered for quite a while. Yes.
So we want to make the right decision on what covering.
And in this environment, I've been told that they last about 6 to 7 years. And then it gets a little bit more technical, but I can talk about that some other time.
I'm sorry, how many boxes would be available for the artists to put their work on?
Only 5.
Oh, that's it, just 5, okay.
Okay,
I have another question. 20,000 doesn't jive with even 800 times 70, so
so we'd be staggering them, maybe 3 this year, 4 the next year, whatever.
the total cost would be more like 2,000 times 70.
Yes, I would think so, yes. But again, so when we come back, when staff comes back to you guys, we'll come back with a strategy. So the really small ones and the ones that are, pushed back behind some bushes somewhere or not quite as visible, we may not target those first. We're going to look for the biggest impact. So it's going to be the larger boxes like the ones that the mayor mentioned in front of Oceans 25, 1930 South Atlantic Avenue, and some of the places where they're really huge and they are quite visible. So we try to get the biggest bang for a buck initially.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
since the item on the agenda is to give the go-ahead to staff to explore all the questions we've been asking, may I just author a motion that we allow them to go forward, gather information, then come back to us, and then we can ask more specific questions, and they'll have better answers.
That's what we were looking for. I wanted to make sure we got these
I'll
questions
second the
in.
motion.
Okay?
So I so move.
Yeah.
I second it.
Madam Mayor, can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Stuart, so can you put more than one artist's work on there? Can we, one side, somebody's, another side, somebody else's? And,
I have not seen that.
Okay.
I have not seen that, but
So please put that into your
Yeah.
exploratory.
I've not seen
Okay, so I think we have a motion, a discussion. Do we need a vote on it, Becky?
Yes, because
Okay,
there was a
perfect.
motion, yes.
All right. Sherry?
Yes, ma'am. Vice Mayor Pledis,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindauer,
Yes.
Commissioner Cosmos,
Yes.
Commissioner Bryan,
Yes.
Mayor Warren.
Yes, thank you. Do I understand we're pulling item D till the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so the social media policy, just like to go on record that we are going to pull that until the next agenda. There's some further work that needs to be done on that. Thank you. Okay, so our city attorney, do you have any comments for us this evening?
Oh, not tonight, thank
All right,
you.
thank you. City manager?
Madam Mayor, just a point of clarification on the one policy. Attorney Vos, do we need to table that to a date certain, or can we?
I said next meeting, do I need to
Oh,
specify the date?
No, because it wasn't advertised, then this is,
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that,
Okay.
okay, thank you.
All right, so I think city attorney had no comments, city manager comments.
No comments.
Okay, great. Okay, we're gonna go on to council comments, and I'm gonna go first. And this is a little bit different than what I do, but I just want to assure each and every one of you, I am speaking from my heart. I love this city, as do all of you. I know that. I look around at each one of your faces, and I can come by and thank you personally, what you have done for me. I want to start off saying, too, I'm talking only for myself. I'm not speaking for the rest of the commission. You've come up to me, how can I help you? What can we do to help the city? How can we get together? How can we march forward to make this a community that we all love? I have people in the audience today that have prayed for me and have prayed for this city, and I want to thank each and every one of you for doing that. I want to tell you a little bit about how wonderful this city is. For officers were sworn in, but I believe a week or two ago, we had residents that were there that said to these officers, you are in a special place. We appreciate you. We love you. And this is nothing new to any of you. Residents stop our officers on the street and tell them how much they appreciate them. They bring them food, not only for our public safety, they do it for our public works too. So the point of what I'm saying is that I know everybody in this room wants to march together and make this city perfect. Is it perfect now? No, by not any means, but we're all going to go together. And I want you to know that I'm always open to suggestions. If any of you have ever tried to reach out to me, I'm there to answer your calls. Unfortunately, we have a handful of people in this city that are not marching to that same tune of loving this city and wanting to do the best for this city. I want to switch over to our staff. We have a wonderful, wonderful staff. Unfortunately, because of resignations, because of some retirements, this staff works very lean in what they do. And when people want to start by asking them to do things that for no reason, I don't think, except maybe just vindictive. I'm not sure what it is. Again, I don't want to focus on those people. I want to focus on these wonderful people we have here. My marching orders that I've told you for the past 4 or 5 months is to help and advocate for the beach as much as I can. I made a call today and found out of that $50 million that we got for the beach hurricane resilience, it's now been raised to $100 million. So that means, and we'll go into more detail, so I'm going to ask Nancy Maddox, and we're going to get a flyer. I want people to know that that money is there. I want to work on things like that. I want my staff to work on things like that. I want Stuart to work on getting walkways put in. Those are the important things to our residents, not some of these other things that are coming up that all of us are getting emails about. So again, thank you, staff, for everything you do. I'm so sorry that you're stretched so thin. I'm so sorry that people are tapping into our resources for things that, in my opinion, don't matter. Again, people want to see that beach open. They want the walkways open. Everything that we work on together. So I want to make sure that everyone knows I will continue to do whatever I can to advocate, to get whatever funds I can for this city, to get your seawalls fixed. My next step is some of the small commercial buildings, seeing if we can tap into that money for them too, because they're very important to us too. I think that's all I have to say. Each and every person here has come up to me and supported me in different ways, and I greatly, greatly appreciate it. And then going on to not mundane things, do we have a concert this weekend? Our recreation director?
We do, Madam Mayor. We have the Troublemakers.
Can you tell us a little bit about their background?
So most of them work for Halifax Health, and there are professionals there, and then also an attorney that has retired but is still part of the chamber. It's a great group, and we look forward to it.
What time is that?
6:30.
Okay, and no food trucks this week, so brew your own.
That's next month.
Okay, great, thank you so much. I don't have anything right else now. Commissioner Bryan?
Yeah, I would just remind property owners, coastal property owners, that a lot of them are not going to have their permanent armoring in place by mid-August when the risk starts increasing, and they should look seriously into getting appropriate temporary armoring. The ones that have the 2 trap bags in front of the property that the county's been putting out might want to consider adding a 3rd trap bag and backfill into the escarpment. But if we get a hurricane season that's anywhere like the last one, maybe even a lot less, there could be a lot of erosion for the properties that aren't going to have permanent armoring in place. So I would encourage the coastal property owners to start thinking seriously about that.
Thank you. And I did see, we get a report once a week, and that we did have no more new applications, but we do have 3 more that were completed. So that's very, very good news. The chief and city manager and I usually try to go out again on the beach once every week, every other week, and we're just seeing so much construction going on and looking so much better. But to the commissioner's point, there's still people there that really have done nothing. Commissioner Lindau?
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback on what the mayor said and just add that it's a real pleasure to be part of the city leadership and to go out in the community and find that it's not just the 5 of us or the staff, but our residents are involved in promoting the city, caring for the city, and loving the city, and it's a two-way street. We get that feeling back that what we're doing is important because it's making a difference, and they realize it, and they will add their thoughts, and the thoughts that they're adding are 99.9% positive. And it's just a real pleasure to be part of the team, and I consider the residents part of the overall team.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Economos?
I really can't add to what you or Commissioner Lindauer said, but just add my thanks to our residents as well. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Well, if I don't echo those comments, I guess I'd be a heathen. But I got to tell you, my father, God rest his soul, told me something. He goes, you know, captain can navigate very easy through calm waters, but when your waters are rough, it really tells what kind of captain you are. So kudos to Public Safety Director Fowler in conjunction with guidance from our city attorney, city manager, and you, Madam Mayor, is guiding our department through some little troubled waters. But it's really nice to know that the people that live here know what a quality agency we have, what a quality city we have, and city staff. So it goes without saying, I'm proud of you.
Hey, all right, thank you. We don't have any audience comments right now, any written one. Anyone want anything to say? As always, even if you don't have a form filled out, I always want to hear from you. You're our residents, you what make the city it is. Anyone have anything? Okay, if not, the items recommended for the next agenda, so as it stands right now, there's a chance we'll have that social media policy on there. Anything else that we need added on? Okay, if not, remember again that we are not meeting on the 8th. We're not having that first meeting of the month, but we will have the second one of the month. Thank you all so much for coming, and I appreciate each and every one of you.